we are seeing this because people worldwide are escaping fiat currencies.
While some online bullion dealers continue to charge almost $2 over spot for 1 ounce silver rounds, SD Bullion is selling 1 ounce silver rounds at only 49 cents over spot on any quantity. Again, that's $9.99 fine silver for just 49 cents over spot for any quantity. If you haven't joined the over 40,000 precious metals investors by making the switch to SD Bullion, what are you waiting for? You could save hundreds or even thousands of dollars on your next order. SD Bullion, the lowest prices, period.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah Johnson with SilverDoctors.com.
And with us today is David Morgan from the Morgan Report. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, Elijah, thanks for having me.
Now, I'd like your perspective on what gold and silver have been doing right now. Recently, they're rebounding off their lows. Silver is up about $1 from its recent low, and gold is up about $100. What is your perspective on the recent price action in the precious metal markets?
Well, I did a alert or an update for our members, and this is where I sit behind the computer and actually graph it out, speak, and give my views. And I saw a trading opportunity because we invest and trade. Most of our members are just buy and hold, or maybe make occasional, trades during the year, that type of thing. Nonetheless, there is a subset that are pretty active traders. And I saw enough data to go ahead and do a trade that I thought could be rather significant. We got a pretty good entry point. But at this point in time, as we're doing your interview, it's iffy. Not a very well-noted word in the English language. It means that we're not seeing any follow-through. What I really would like to see at these extremely low prices still, that there are buyers at these low levels, and I haven't seen it yet. We're up enough from our entry point to probably make a small profit, but my trading is longer term, and I like to really get into those situations like we did in 2016, where we get in January and get out in the late summer and had significant gains. I mean, just on our first Majestic holdings, we made 500% or so, which would mean, that that'd be the equivalent of silver going up 5 times and be going from, the 15 level to the $65 level. So I made a joke, but it's also true that, did you cash out at your, $60 silver ? And of course the answer is silver didn't do that. But it proves the power of what I've taught for years, is that in the right silver stocks, and we do all resources other than oil, but regardless, that if you have the right investments and get the leverage that is offered in some of these mining shares, that you can do much, much better than the underlying asset itself. And that's what took place. So with that in mind, it looked like that same type of opportunity was being set up. But at this point, Elijah, I honestly don't know. I'm going to put out a new update after we get off the phone for our members and let them know, put in a stop here. That's where I put in my stop. And let's just see what happens. It could continue, but I do not like the market action as of today.
Now, I recently interviewed Bill Murphy from the Gold Antitrust Action Committee. He often talks about the manipulation of the prices of gold and silver, and he was saying that JP Morgan and other banks are petrified right now of a possible silver spike in the near future. What are your thoughts on that? And did you want to give our viewers an update on what has been happening maybe behind the scenes with the manipulation of the gold and silver markets?
Well, again, for our members, which is our best thinking, and it's certainly more than me. I have 2 analysts that work with us. However, I continually make the same statement, which is the markets have been trading differently, and that's been for well over a year, probably more like 2. And this has been from the advent of the SGE, the Shanghai Gold Exchange. Because if you look at the metrics between the COMEX shorts and the SGE longs, it looks as if the Chinese are matching the banks 1-for-1, which means that the open interest, or the amount of contracts outstanding, has accelerated to the upside significantly. And the longs from China are not being scared out like the trading funds were year after year after year after year. So the setup recently was very advantageous for a short squeeze, because if the longs were willing to hold and the price kept going up, at some point the algorithms or whatever would suggest to the main bankers, the JP Morgans et al., that they would have to cover, which would only accelerate the upward move. However, being in this market for so long, I had to do what the market has indicated. In other words, the probability is more significant that the price would come down and not go up. But I had to tell everybody that the setup was very good for a short squeeze or a spike. I also said I felt it was an 85% probability that the market would come down. I did that right at the 1850 level. I called a 1650 low ahead of time. We got to about 1620, as you know, and after we bottomed, and I put out the other alert saying, okay, it looks like we're ready to go back up. So I hopefully answered your question fully, because it's a rather complicated question. I was correct from the aspect that the probability of it coming down rather than spiking higher was true. I got pretty close to the exact bottom. And again, I'm long on my trading position. All my core positions are, nice and tidy and held firmly as a long-term investor. And I have gone long on my trading position at a more than average level, but I'm not all in.
All right. Well, before we let you go, I wanted to touch on the Bitcoin market, because that's another market that's just going crazy right now. It's up this year more than 150%. It's at an all-time high. It's above, currently on Wednesday here, I'm looking at the charts, it's above $2,400. That's pretty much double the price of gold. What is your perspective on what is happening in the Bitcoin market?
Well, we're going to be writing about the cryptocurrencies in the next issue of the Morgan Report. And before anyone just jumps on, become a member, we're not going to be offering a huge informational treatise on, buy this one or that one. My perspective is along the Rob Kirby lines. Rob just did an interview on USA Watchdog, and what he said is that this is a witnessing of a market that has a asset that cannot be shorted. There's no vehicle out there to short Bitcoin or short Ethereum or NEM or Ripple or any of these major cryptocurrencies. And so it shows you in a free market where there's really buying and selling by the participants, but no algorithm out there that can take advantage of the ability to naked short something. That this is the kind of volatility and the kind of movement. So his thesis, and I agree with it, is, or hypothesis perhaps, is that we are seeing this because people worldwide are escaping fiat currencies. And he also made the statement that if gold and silver weren't strapped to the table, strapped to the gurney was his words, then they too probably would have had extreme moves over the last 3 months or so. And I tend to agree with that. My view is that I'm free market. I wrote an article years ago on my 2 bits about Bitcoin. I said, if I'm really who I say I am and I really believe in free markets, who am I to say that Bitcoin isn't the best thing out there? My real only hesitation on it is that it is fiat from the aspect there's no real backing to it. But that's what we've lived with, in my lifetime, forever, basically. I mean, yes, there was silver until time I was 11, so I guess I could have to embellish that statement somewhat. I think it's a wave of the future. The main article that David Smith that works with us wrote was about the merger of precious metals and a cryptocurrency. I do believe that's the future, so you will have something that's not only free of the present banking system, but it will also be backed by a real asset. So that, I think, could be what we will see in the future. There are some attempts at doing that. Personally, I'm actually working on a project moving that direction. Doesn't guarantee it will actually be implemented, but I am spending a great deal of time looking into the correct platform and how to make it work very similar to the precious metals debit card that was started here in Spokane by a friend of mine, and that system is working rather well. It's a hybrid system, which means that your metals are free of the banking system. but you are also in the banking system. And let me explain. So your metals are stored outside the banking system, and your debit card is processed through the banking system. So if there was a bank run, an electrical failure, some type of situation where the banking system ceased to function for a few hours or a few days or even a week or something, your metals will be safe and sound, and you could go get them or whatever, because it's independent of the system itself or the current system. However, you utilize the system for transactions if you wish to. So that's the type of safety that I want to install with a cryptocurrency situation, that you would be gold, silver backed, platinum, palladium probably as well, and have the safety of the electrical situation, because many have pointed out that if there was some type of, cyber warfare, or as governments already have these switches in place, and I'm using that as a metaphor, to turn off the internet in certain locations, or because they want to, or they want to disrupt the information flow, that you would still be protected from that situation.
All right. Well, David Morgan, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we let you go, did you want to share with the viewers any last thoughts you had and where they can find you online?
I do. I just finished a new report called Silver Price Forecast for 2017. And if you're already on our free email list, you can still sign up for this. The system is smart enough to know your email, so you will not really be on the list twice. All you have to do is go to themorganreport.com, and in that report, we talk about why silver could be the top-performing metal this year, why the central bank's low interest rate policies are pushing up prices, the supply and demand fundamentals, and kind of my longer-term view on the silver market. And Elijah, if I might add one more thing, I keep forgetting it. I started doing a podcast, so if you're on iTunes, and I think you can do it on Android, but if you go to the iTunes platform for podcasting, just type in The Morgan Report, and I'm doing podcasts at least weekly, and I will be starting a series that are podcast exclusive, talking about silver, the essential metal.
All right. Once again, David Morgan, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.